Welcome back, Smashers. It's Jansen here, back with a brand new Amazon FBA tutorial video. Now, this week I'm going to be talking about my top tips for pay-per-click advertising. This is an area that a lot of people struggle with, and it was an area that I certainly struggled with when I was very first learning about Amazon FBA and about advertising. So I thought I'd put together my top 10 tips to help you guys bring those advertising costs down, get those sales up, and make more profit. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first tip that I'd say, and this is probably one of the most important ones, is to be patient. I've got a number of students at the moment who message me and say, Jansen, my budget's run out at £20. I want to turn certain keywords off and increase the budget and all sorts of things like that. And I say to them, well, how long have you been running your campaign? How long have you been running a certain keyword for? And they'll say, oh, just today. You need to be really patient and understand that with pay-per-click advertising, you need data. You need a minimum of 2 weeks of data, I'd say, before you can properly assess what works and what doesn't. So just as an example to kind of highlight that point, I'm going to put up now a screenshot of a keywords ACOS that I have from the past 7 days. So you can see it here, that ACOS is sky high. Now, if I was to say to you, what would you advise me as a student or as a beginner to do with that keyword that's only been running a few days, say? You'd probably say, well, turn it off. It's clearly not working. It's far too expensive. The ACOS is sky high. Now look at this. This screenshot here is the same keyword for since I've been running it, and you can see that ACOS is far lower. So the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that you can't make rash decisions to do with pay-per-click advertising just off a few days worth of data. You need, I'd say, 2 weeks ideally. I'd say absolute minimum 1 week before you should really be thinking about changing things. So that's my number one tip. Make sure you're patient. Obviously, if you're launching a project and a new product and the ACOS is ridiculously high, say you've spent £100 and had no sales, then yes, that's when you can start thinking maybe there's something wrong with my listing. But otherwise, guys, if you get similar results to what I've got there with quite a high ACOS or something like that, you honestly need to give it more time. The next one is test. You need to be as creative as you can in terms of the different campaigns that you create. So I'd say you want to go for a manual campaign where you're targeting certain competitors, so you're product targeting. You want to go for a manual campaign where you're targeting exact keywords, phrase keywords, broad keywords. Just try and be as creative as possible and spread it out over different campaigns so you can quickly learn what works and what doesn't. I'd say don't bother just having one campaign that's automatic and one campaign that's manual. That's kind of too restrictive. You're going to have too many different results in there to properly analyze. So what I would say is my number two tip, my second tip, is make sure you test all the different types of combination that you possibly can with your campaigns. Now, the next one, and this is again a big one, and it's something that I've actually just been talking about with a student of mine, is don't run before you can walk. Learn PPC first and understand it. Don't just go straight in there and put your budget as £100 and then see that it's run out and then up it to 150. I promise you, you will lose money. You need to start slow. I'd say start with a budget of £5 or £10 and then gradually increase it as you start to learn what works and what doesn't and things like that. I promise you, if you just start with £100, you're going to see immediately that your budget is going to go very quickly. You'll probably get some sales, or hopefully you'll get some sales, but you won't be able to download reports and properly analyze the data to see where you're being overcharged and to be able to see what keywords are actually getting those sales. So that's my third tip, guys. Make sure you learn pay-per-click advertising first and you're able to start analyzing data before you start increasing that budget. Now, number four, the fourth tip is to stay organized and create different campaigns and create portfolios. What I did, a mistake that I made when I very first started selling on Amazon, is I just created one big manual campaign that had like hundreds of keywords in it, chucked on like a 20 or 30 pound budget, and then just kind of let it run. And what I found was happening was certain keywords in that campaign were kind of hogging all the budget, and it was running out very quickly. So what I'd say here is stay organized, have a campaign for just like ASINs or competitors that you're targeting, have a campaign for broad keywords, have one for phrase keywords, exact keywords, automatic, so on and so forth. Just keep it all separate and label everything. Make sure you give your campaigns actual like easy to identify names, so that when you're looking at your results, when you're downloading your reports, you can immediately see and immediately understand exactly what campaign like is relating to what keyword, which ultimately is going to mean that you're able to do your analysis a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently, so that you can bring those costs right down. Number 5, and this is a massive tip, I'm going to show a photo of my result here, is create a separate automatic campaign. And where Amazon says to you, what bid do you want to make, put 5 pence, put the budget as £10 or something, and you will be amazed at the results that you'll get. I'm going to put my lifetime results here for my 5p campaign. And look at that, you can see the ACoS there is ridiculously low. And the reason this is happening is basically the automatic campaign will be looking for any keyword relating to your product where 5p is the highest bid, i.e. other people's bids have run out or nobody else is bidding on a certain keyword. And as a result, your listing will end up being shown at the top of search results or on other listings for just 5p, and you will start to make sales. You're not going to make a huge amount up front. That photo that I just showed you there is over a period of about 6 to 8 months, I think, if I'm going to show you my second product's results. But I would say you're probably going to end up hopefully getting at least one sale per day, one sale per week, sorry, with that 5p campaign. So it is certainly worth running. You'll get incredibly profitable results, and it doesn't really cost anything at all. So tip number 6 is where to get your keyword data from. Some people advise just get it from your automatic campaign, which is absolutely right. At the end of the day, that's what you're kind of paying Amazon to do. You're paying them money to run an automatic campaign and then get you keyword data. So make sure you download your automatic campaign results at least once every fortnight, I'd say. Have a look through and look at if there's any new keywords that you can maybe add into your back end, or any keywords that you can add into a manual campaign. And then another tip from me is make sure you use tools like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout. I use Helium 10's Cerebro tool. Use that again once every 2 or 3 weeks on your competitors' listings to basically look at what keywords customers are searching for. You can also use a tool called Magnet, which is in Helium 10. Use those to have a look at like new keywords that you might not have thought of, and any ones that have like a decent like amount of search volume, I would also put those in a manual campaign. The next one, tip number 7, and this isn't something that I did until about 8 months ago now, is add your brand name as a negative keyword. Because as soon as you start making sales, and as soon as you start to like absolutely smash it and build a reputation for your brand, you'll find that customers will recommend your product to friends, and they'll say, oh, buy this XYZ brand name, this XYZ product from Amazon. The person will type in your brand name, and if you don't put it in as a negative keyword, your listing will show up as a sponsored listing, and the customer will click it, and as a result you'll be charged, when like in reality your brand name is probably quite unique and you were probably the first or second result anyway. I found that was happening. I looked at a search report and I found that I paid like 15 or 20 pounds on for customers bidding on searching for my brand name, when that could have easily been avoided by putting it in as a negative, and I still would have had the sale because obviously my product would still appear when the customer searched for my brand name. So that is tip number 7. Tip number 8, and again I'm guilty for not actually doing this one until quite recently, is if you have a trademark, make sure you make use of sponsored brands. Now, I'll put a photo of what the sponsored brand advertising looks like. It basically is a reserved spot at the top of a search result, and it also features in a very prominent position on your competitors' listings. Now, the reason I highly recommend this is because the proportion of sellers that have a trademark versus like the entire seller universe is very small, and as a result of that, bidding on keywords for those sponsored brands is really cheap. As an example, my main product's keyword on normal pay-per-click advertising is about £1.50 per click. But with sponsored brands, it's about 60 pence. And the ACoS that I'm getting is incredibly low because you're in such a prominent position and I'm not really fighting against many other competitors. I think I started using this about a month ago now and my ACoS is like 10 or 15%. It is insane. So if you do have that trademark, guys, make sure you use that sponsored brand promotion tool. Now, number 9 is kind of connected to what I said earlier, which is revisit and optimize your campaigns. I would say at least once a week. Like, revisit your keywords and see like what is and what isn't working, and again, do your kind of keyword research to make sure that there's no new search terms that are coming up. If you don't find that you've got the time, you can hire people on Upwork to do it for you. I've seen a few people recommend Upwork for things like this, and you can get it done for about $6 to $10 an hour, and all you need really is, I'd say, maximum, absolute max, 2 hours a week. You could probably do it a bit quicker, but I think 2 hours is about the standard. So for about £10 a week, you can get somebody to optimize your campaigns, kind of figure out what does and doesn't work, and ultimately save you costs when it comes to advertising. Now, another point that isn't actually covered on this that I should probably raise now is what to do when you think a keyword isn't actually working. So let's say that you come to review your campaign after a couple of weeks and you see that a certain keyword has got like an ACoS of say 90 or 100%. Now, what a lot of people do and what a lot of other YouTubers advise to do is they say if you've got a sky high ACoS, just turn the keyword off. It's not working, and put it in a negative. I would actually advise against this based on my experience. What I would say to do, if you find that a keyword is costing you quite a lot, it's not getting sales, or it's just the ACoS is just very high, rather than turning it off, I would just lower the bid, which basically means that you're willing to pay less for that keyword. Now, let's say, for example, you're bidding on a keyword that's £1. What I would do is lower it to 70p, then come back the next week and see what's happened. If your ACoS is still really high, again, lower it to like 50p, keep going down till you get to about 10p, and like if you're still not getting any sales from that keyword at 10p, if they're not profitable, that is when I would turn it off. However, what I'd say is if you are bidding on keywords that cost like 10p a click, then hopefully, because the cost is so low, eventually you will start to get sales and that ACoS will come right down. So the final tip from me, and this is something that I learned about this time last year actually, when it was Black Friday: do not, under any circumstances, change your budget in the day. I don't know what happens if it's part of the algorithm or if Amazon just like eats your money up, but what will happen is your budget will just go like that immediately. I did it last Black Friday last year. I think I had a budget about £100 and I'd made like, say, 60 sales. So I was like, great, budget's run out at 6 p.m, I'll add on another 50. I added another 50, and I'm not kidding, it went in about 30 minutes, and I think I had about 3 additional sales. So I'm not sure what happens, but if you want to change your budget, I'd say do it late at night or very first thing in the morning. Certainly don't do it when your budget has actually run out, otherwise you'll get burnt like I did last year. So those are my top 10 tips there, guys. Hopefully you've learned something. These are all things that I've learned over the past year of selling and over the massive amount of money that I've spent on advertising. So make sure you put those tips to good use. If you did enjoy this video, please do remember to subscribe, and if you have any questions about Amazon FBA, advertising, whatever, you can post in the comment section below or join me in the Amazon FBA Smashers group on Facebook. That's it for this week then, guys. I'll see you next time.